Imagine waking up one morning and realizing your country has gone dark. Not just the power grid, not just the internet, but the very heartbeat of society. Banks frozen, phones useless, trains stopped in their tracks. No one knows what's happening. No one knows who's behind it, only that somewhere in the shadows, a single hacker has pressed a key and an entire nation has fallen silent. This isn't the opening scene of a dystopian thriller. This actually happened. The year was 2007. The place, Estonia, a small Baltic nation, proud and fiercely independent, perched on the edge of Europe. Just 16 years earlier, they had broken free from the grip of the Soviet Union, and now they were embracing a new kind of freedom, digital freedom. Estonia had become the world's first true e-government. Citizens voted online, paid their taxes online, even signed legal contracts with digital IDs. They called themselves Estonia. But what happens when a country builds its entire nervous system out of glass? What happens when someone decides to throw a stone? It started with a statue, a monument of a Soviet soldier in the capital city of Tallinn. For ethnic Russians, it was a symbol of victory against the Nazis. For Estonians, it was a reminder of decades of occupation. The government made a decision to move the statue, quietly, to a military cemetery. But nothing about what followed was quiet. The night the statue was moved, riots broke out. Shops smashed, streets burning, people injured. It looked like a nation tearing itself apart. But what no one expected was that the real attack was about to begin. Within hours, websites began crashing. Banks were knocked offline. The largest newspapers couldn't publish. Ministries, parliament, police, all their servers were flooded, overwhelmed by an invisible army. Tens of thousands of computers around the world had been hijacked, turned into digital soldiers in a coordinated strike. To the average citizen, it felt like magic or madness. You went to withdraw cash, and the ATM simply blinked, dead. You tried calling emergency services, and the line didn't work. You logged on to read the news, and the page refused to load. An entire modern society reduced to silence by a faceless enemy. For Estonians, it was more than just an inconvenience. It was existential. This was a nation that had lived under the boot of the Soviet Union, a nation that had fought tooth and nail for its independence. And now, they were being shown just how fragile that independence really was. The attack lasted weeks. Banks had to shut down services. Government networks were crippled. Ordinary people lined up outside offices in confusion, unable to complete the most basic tasks. For the first time in history, a cyber attack wasn't just stealing data, it was holding a nation hostage. The question everyone asked was the same: who could do this? Who had the power, the resources, the audacity to try and take down an entire country? Estonia pointed a finger east, to Russia. The attack had come in the wake of the statue's removal, and the Kremlin had openly condemned Estonia's decision. Many of the servers used in the assault were traced back to Russian territory. It looked like digital retaliation, a message sent not with tanks and missiles, but with keystrokes. But here's where the story twists. Because when investigators dug deeper, they found something strange. The attacks weren't all coming from military servers. They weren't even all coming from Russia. Many were coming from infected computers spread across the globe, from people's homes, offices, universities, machines that had been hijacked without their owners ever knowing. And at the center of it all was a single hacker. His name was Dmitry Galushkevich, a 20-something student from Tallinn itself. Not a Russian general, not some shadowy state agent, just a young man with a keyboard and a grudge. He was eventually caught, tried, and sentenced for his role in the attacks. The headlines called him the hacker who took down a country. And in many ways, it was true. But was Dmitry really the mastermind, or just a convenient scapegoat? Because here's the uncomfortable truth: the attack was far too big, too coordinated, too relentless to be the work of one student alone. Dmitry may have been involved, but the fingerprints of a much larger power lingered in the background. The Estonian government has never stopped accusing Russia of orchestrating the assault, and Russia has never admitted it. So the question remains, to this day, was it the anger of one man or the might of an entire state testing a new kind of weapon? What's chilling is how invisible it all was. In traditional war, you can see the tanks, hear the gunfire, feel the weight of invasion. But in 2007, the front line was everywhere and nowhere. A battlefield with no smoke, no blood, just silence. And yet the scars ran deep. Estonia realized they weren't safe, that no nation was. They turned their humiliation into determination, becoming world leaders in cybersecurity. NATO itself established a cyber defense center in Tallinn. What happened to Estonia became the case study for every country preparing for a future where wars might be fought without ever firing a shot. But there's another lesson here. It's not just about governments and armies. It's about us. You, me, ordinary people. Because the weapons used to bring Estonia to its knees weren't supercomputers or satellites. They were infected personal machines, scattered in bedrooms and offices around the world. Someone clicked on the wrong link, downloaded the wrong file, and their computer became part of the swarm. The hacker who took down a country didn't just use code, he used us. Looking back, it feels like a warning we still haven't fully understood. In a world where everything is connected, everything can be broken. A hospital's power supply, a city's traffic lights, a nation's democracy. All it takes is someone willing to press the right key at the wrong moment. And maybe that's the scariest part. Not that a hacker once took down Estonia, but that tomorrow, it could be anywhere. So the next time you hear about some kid in a dark room, hunched over a glowing screen, it's easy to laugh, to dismiss them as harmless. But remember this, in 2007, the world learned that a single hacker could silence a country. And maybe, just maybe, the first true world war won't begin with bombs. It will begin with a blackout.